Hello. Today I'm going to talk about some recent vending opportunities that I've had. Both of them took place last month in June, and I just want to talk about my experience vending at these events, my expenses, and my earnings at each one. I want to do this because I'm relatively new to vending, and I've only done a few between Colorado, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island. And as always, I want my experience to help others, whether you want to use it as a starting point for yourself or you want to take my experience and do better for yourself. But first, I want to talk about this little painting that I'm doing. I've had this sketch sitting in a basket for several months. I actually had 4 of them that I did using a limited palette where I only used primary colors plus white and black. I like using limited palettes. It's a lot of fun mixing my own colors. And I wanted to use that for acrylic paint, which this is done in acrylic, which used to be my preferred medium before I started dabbling in watercolor many years ago. I had a ton of fun doing this. It's super simple, but I love doing it. It was a lot of fun. And this piece is currently available in my shop, along with 2 of the other pieces that I did in the series. There's an owl, a monarch butterfly, and the strawberries here. Those ones are all available in my shop currently. So back to the vending part of this video. Like I mentioned, I've only done a few events, and I'll list them all on the screen for you to see and where they were. My biggest event that I've done so far was Non-Desucon, or NDK for short, in Denver, and I did that last year. I'll be there again this year at the end of August and into the beginning of September, so if you happen to be going to NDK, come say hi. I would love that. I would like to say, before I start getting into numbers, that because I'm still pretty new to vending, my biggest goal for each event is to just make back my costs. That's always how I see it. I want to go in there and I want to make back what I've spent there, which as I was looking at all of these numbers, I realized I have to start thinking bigger. And so I've kind of, I'm going to share all these numbers with you guys, but I'm also looking at this, as somebody who's trying to turn this into a business. And I'm thinking I need to make a new plan. And I need to start focusing on how to do better at these events. Not to say I didn't do well. I still had a lot of fun. I plan on doing them again next year if I can. I just wanted to share that. As a beginner, my goal right now has been to make back my table costs. So far this year, like I said, I've only done the 2 events. Both of them were last month. And I'm going to start with the Spring Arts Festival on the Reservoir in Mansfield, Massachusetts. It was literally on a reservoir. It was at an art gallery. Really liked it. It was a 2-day event on Saturday and Sunday, and it was about 5 hours. I think it was from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. each day. It was an outdoor event, so we needed to provide our own tents, tables, and weights for our tents. Because it being by a body of water, it would get breezy. Part of my display ended up falling off my table because a big enough breeze came by that it just knocked it off. Nothing was damaged, everything was fine. But my gosh, I don't know who dove faster, myself or the people who were at my table. A little alarming, but kind of funny. I did find out while I was there that it was their first year doing the art festival, but it was fun. They had a couple of food trucks, they had a stage with live music. Since it was at the gallery, they had a school art show, a local school's art show, and they had judging, which was really fun. And they had several different types of artists and artisans there. They had people who make jewelry, they had acrylic pouring, they had photographers, there were other traditional artists like myself. I met some of the nicest people at this event. Oh my gosh, so nice. And I even had some returning customers from the first day, which was really cool. The second event that I did was Rhode Island AnimeCon in Providence, Rhode Island. This was their second year doing the event. My teenager and I went as attendees the first year, and we found out like a week before and bought tickets, and we were kind of scoping it out, and it was really cool to see how much it grew from that first year to this year. Like even my son noticed that it was huge compared to the first year. It was also a 2-day event, but the hours were from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. on Saturday and 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Sunday. So it was a total of 18 hours between the 2 days versus the Spring Art Festival was 10 hours. It was unfortunate that the event was scheduled during Father's Day and was also scheduled the same weekend as Boston Fan Expo. After talking to a lot of the other vendors and artists, we felt really heavily impacted the attending numbers at the anime convention, which was a massive, massive bummer. But let's talk about the numbers part, and we'll start with the Spring Art Festival. My table cost was $100. I believe there was a small application fee, somewhere between $10 and $25, which isn't unusual for an art market or festival because it's basically paying people to judge your art and make sure that you're appropriate enough for their event. My additional expenses for the event were a total of $138. I spent $85 on stickers, not specific to this event, and they did carry over to my website and also future events. $20 for paper because I print my own prints, $14 for weight, and $19 towards my display, which were these awesome little clips that ended up being like a massive help whenever the breezes would kick up, and it would keep my tablecloth flat. But I used those to display my prices and my socials and, stuff like that. And I've reused those since they're part of my display. My total expenses, including the table, but not including the application fee, just because I can't remember what it was $238. By the end of the weekend, I'd made a total of $422 in sales, which after expenses means I made $184 take home. I did reinvest some of that take-home money into my display setup to make it look better and more professional. I had bought myself a new tablecloth for $19, and I invested in a new sticker display, which was $25, because my sticker collection has grown a lot, and I was outgrowing the displays that I had. Now, onto Rhode Island Anime Con. When I applied for and purchased a table, I also bought an extra badge because my fiance and my teenager volunteered to help me on different days. So my table and badge cost was $382. My additional expenses were a lot less because I had already purchased new stickers and paper for prints. And on Saturday, I had a $20 parking expense because that was the day my fiance came with me. And on Sunday, he just dropped my son and I off because the convention center is like literally 15 minutes from my house. So he just dropped us off. My only other expense was food. I spent $32 on food for both days because we weren't allowed to bring outside food in, which is what I prefer to do, just because convention food is so expensive, and my son, being a teenager, eats a lot. He's always hungry. And during conventions, I don't eat a lot. I just get a little snacky. But anyways, bringing my total expenses for my table, my parking, and my food, it was $434. My total sales for the event was $706. Now, Rhode Island Anime Con has you pay taxes at the end of the event, so after expenses and taxes, I made $228.46. So, like I said, this had me really looking at how I approach events, because I look at how much I made in sales, $422 at the Spring Arts Festival and $706 at the anime convention. And, for a beginner, I'm like, wow, that's really cool, especially because this is what my table costs were. But then I take into account my expenses, which I try to keep at an absolute minimum, so that way I can take home more. But unfortunately, some of those things were a necessity that I had to do since I couldn't bring in my own food. I wanted to get new stickers because it's always good to, bring in new product. I needed to up my display because my display used to be really sad. I'll say it was sad. Yeah, I had to buy new stuff for my display just because it needed more. I needed to be able to catch eyes more. So they were, to me, necessary expenses. But then when I look at how much I actually made, it was a huge hit seeing that. So I I am excited to do more events. I am going to be looking how to do better. I watch a ton, and I mean a ton, of vlogs, convention vlogs and such from various artists, and trying to learn how to do better. It's hard to talk about money, especially when you sit there and you think I didn't do as well as I had hoped. But at the same time, it's a point to see where I'm going to grow from here, because I'm going to be busting my butt to grow from here. If you have any questions, have any advice, anything like that, feel free to leave a comment. If you're going to be at NDK next month, come by, say hi. I would love it if you did. And I hope you have a wonderful experience if you decide to start doing conventions or tabling at markets or festivals or anything like that. I hope you have all of the success in the world. Sorry for the rambling. Thank you for hanging out and taking a listen and watching me paint, and I will see you guys in the next video.